Please welcome Bill Whittle.
Hi, everybody. Got a little timer here on my iPhone. It's got a picture of Fidel Castro on it to keep me out of 4-hour territory. It's great to be here. By the way, if you look carefully, my contract writer says I'm supposed to be introduced as the delicious Bill Whittle. It's right there in black and white. Before I tell you how all this stuff happened, there's one thing you need to understand about human nature. It is the single greatest determiner of human behavior. Guys who are into advertising understand this very well. It's called social proof. Social proof is a very simple concept. Mostly we used to refer to it as peer pressure, but social proof is a better term. Social proof simply says that the single most important aspect in human behavior is doing what everyone else is doing. A lot of people say that's, oh, the sheeple in the herd. Social proof makes perfect sense. Social proof means that if somebody's in line waiting to get tickets and you're in the same room to see the same show, you probably should be in the same line. It makes sense to do what most other people are doing. But social proof is overwhelmingly powerful. And to give you an idea of what social proof is like and how hard it is to break away from social proof, imagine that you're on a street and there's a building on fire and you can hear screams coming from inside. And let's say there's 100 people standing out there on the street watching the building burn down. 100 people will watch that building burn down and listen to people screaming inside until one person in 100 has the moral courage to break out of the social proof and start running in to save people. But here's the interesting thing about that. Once that one person starts running, 30 people will be on his heels. It's not that they lack physical courage, it's just they don't know what to do. They're doing what everybody else does. The social proof says you stand around until one person makes an effort to rescue those people, and then just about everybody else will follow. They want to act. They're not bad people. They're not sheep. They're waiting for an example. Now let's step back to the thrilling days of yesteryear, not 20 years ago or 200 years ago or 2,000 years ago. Let's go back 200,000 years in human history. You've all seen these pictures of these cave paintings, like in Lascaux in France, and what you see are buffaloes or mammoths, and you see little stick figures of hunters, and the little spears are flying through the air, and you've all seen these cave paintings before. Anthropologists believe now that these cave paintings are not artwork representing what happened. They actually think that they were simulators. That they were like flight simulators, that young warriors, young men would be blindfolded, taken deep into these caves, blindfolds would be removed, and then the hunters would point to this thing with a torch, and these guys would recoil almost in horror. You know, when they first showed movies in theaters and they showed a train coming towards the camera, people fainted or they got out of their chairs. They didn't know what was happening to them. And they think that these hunters would look at these pictures on this wall and they would be simulated. They would say, see, you guys go around the back, 15 guys in the front, the guys in the back throw their spears, we'll send it over the cliff. It's a simulator. So a group of people went into a dark room and sat up and looked on a wall, and they saw a bright image on a wall that told them what to do, how to think, and what the social norms would be when you got back out into the world. All throughout human history, the culture has determined the health of the civilization. The Greeks were little city-states. Essentially, Athens was a city. It's just a little city, conquered the world. Why? Because Athens had a mythology that told them that their gods were the gods of Olympus who hurled thunderbolts and nothing got in their way. Their culture backed their civilization, and their civilization fed back into their culture. Our religion today, America is mostly a Christian nation, and our Christian stories are 2,000 years old. I'm not saying this is a problem, I'm just saying it's a fact. The Bible is nothing but a series of stories. We learn from stories, and the stories are 2,000 years old. So where is the mythology? Where is the behavioral cues for how we learn how to act today? Well, much like those ancient people 200,000 years ago before language, we also go into dark rooms and look up on screens and see behavior, and we take that behavior out into the world with us, and we behave the way we're told to behave on those scenes because of social proof. This is what people do. Now, 50 years ago in America, the social proof that we would get on those cave walls and shining images up on a screen was a social proof that told us that we were a great country, a heroic country filled with good people, that we were the best, most decent people in the world, that we were not about going out and conquering the world, that the mythology of the movies was that American people were here to save the world. If you look at an example that I think everybody likes, the Hollywood prior to about 1967-68 was a Hollywood that made a movie like, oh, let's say, It's a Wonderful Life. What happens in It's a Wonderful Life? It's a Wonderful Life is a story about a fundamentally good country, America, that has a corrupting influence come into it through Potter and through mercantilism and not business, because George Bailey was a businessman. But it is a fundamentally good place where evil enters, and a fundamentally good man is filled with doubts about the goodness of his personal life and his culture. The best example I can give you in terms of how Hollywood has become corrupted by the left is this. In 1964, Hollywood made a movie called The Manchurian Candidate. It starred Frank Sinatra as an investigator who was looking into a private who'd been brainwashed during the Korean War by the Chinese to kill the president. That's why they called it The Manchurian Candidate, because he was brainwashed by the Red Chinese. Well, in 2007, New Hollywood made that movie again. Same exact movie. This time it was Denzel Washington. The same exact story. He's investigating a guy who's been brainwashed to kill the president, but this time the guy's been brainwashed to kill the president by the Manchurian Corporation. I know, it's hilarious, but it's true. The culture that used to tell you you lived in a good society and used to tell you who the good guys and the bad guys were, used to tell you the good guys were soldiers like John Wayne, or they were individuals, lawmen like Gary Cooper, who through an act of individual courage would stand up in front of an entire town of cowards in high noon and provide the social proof that courage and resistance against evil is a noble and good thing. The battle for this country's future is not in Washington, it's in Hollywood. People have information, but they don't vote on what they think, they vote on what they believe and what they know in their hearts, and they learn that in those dark caves with those paintings on the wall, and we got to change that picture, and we got to do it right quick. Thank you very much.